I think it waits until right when it's time too. Yeah, we'll find out here in a second.
There it is. All right, we'll call the meeting order for the Angola Common Council, Monday, August 4th. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coffey. Present. Councilmember Olson. Here. Councilmember Sharkey.
Present.
Councilmember Dow. Here. Councilmember McNermott. Here.
Request approval of the July 21st minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unfinished business, ordinance number 1781, 2025, an ordinance fixing the compensation of appointed officers, deputies, and other employees and of police and firefighters of the city of Angola, Indiana for the year 2026, third reading.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinance number 1782, 2025, an ordinance amending the City of Angola Code of Ordinances, Title 9, Public Peace, Morale, and Welfare, Chapter 9.05, General Offenses. This is the open burning ordinance, third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Oh.
Ordinance number 1783, 2025, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Angola, Indiana. This is for the 520 South 100 East property. This is the second reading.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other unfinished business? New business, ordinance number 1784, 2025, an ordinance fixing the compensation of elected officials of the city of Angola, Indiana for the year 2026.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinance number 1785, 2024, an additional appropriation ordinance for the city of Angola, Indiana Park Community Building, say that word, Building Fund. This is first reading. Matt, you want to give a quick synopsis of what we're doing here, please?
Yeah, so we've been patiently waiting the drive and parking area for the Center Lakes property that we acquired a couple years back. And we're finally getting around to do the additional appropriation for that. We did get an estimate last year, and in order to not do another appropriation, because we don't know what kind of soils we're going to get into back there, we've kind of padded that number for what we're going to use out of that fund for that project. So, any questions?
What's the time frame on?
Well, a lot of contractors are booked for the rest of this year, but we at least like to get it out for bid, because some of the contractors we've talked with thought that he might be able to get some of the work done yet this fall and then pave next year. So we're going to be a little flexible. Hopefully it'll get started this year and finish next. So
Matt, does it go all the way back now to the lake, or is it just portion of that?
yeah, it goes all the way within, I don't know, probably 100 foot of the lake is the end of the parking lot. So I mean, it'll be an easy walking access, and eventually we're planning an ADA fishing pier, which we've already received some donations for. So we'll have an accessible sidewalk leading from the parking area out to the ADA fishing pier. That's in the future, but this has got to get done first.
Just a parking lot.
Drive-in parking.
Drive-in,
Correct, yep.
That's why I was curious about the drive-in.
For now, yep.
So hard surface all the way to 100?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion. When you make the motion, would you please change the ordinance number to 1785, 2025. There's a typo.
It was, the ordinance that was presented had the correct number. It was just
Oh,
listed wrong on,
the
it was listed wrong on the agenda, yeah.
Okay, then just a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution number 2025-892, resolution of the city of Angola, Indiana approving of the appointment of the members of the board for the Northeast Indiana Regional Development Authority. There's an attachment on it. We are members, the city is a member of the Mayor's Commissioners Caucus. That caucus has the ability to vote on and approve members to the RDA. Quite often at the meetings, we don't always have a quorum of members available. If we did, we would vote amongst the members only, but since they don't have a hard time getting a quorum every meeting, they just want to put it out to the council meeting. So it's a way of doing it in writing. So that's what this is about.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, request approval of the engagement letter and scope appendix with Baker Tilly Advisory Group LP for 2025 legislative property tax impact analysis and comprehensive financial plan with an amount not to exceed $35,000. Would you like to do a short synopsis of what we're doing?
Yeah, the last few years, Jeff Rao at Baker Tilly's been in contact with me about doing a comprehensive financial plan for the city, and Mayor Hickman and I had discussed that, and then Mayor Martin once he was elected, and we thought that we were doing pretty well with the what we put together at budget time every year, and our cash balances we're doing well in our city funds. But this year, with the surprises from the state legislature, after discussing it with the mayor, we thought it might be time to undergo that comprehensive plan. So they presented this to us. They're going to put together a full financial plan involving all the city funds, not the utilities. Go through all of our cash balances, and then they're going to do an analysis of how the new legislation from the state with property taxes and how that's going to affect our income will affect our cash balances going out into the future. So it's kind of sticker shock, but they're going to put together a full analysis this year, and then I think they'll be able to update it every year going forward for a smaller amount, basically, if we want to continue forward. But we thought this would be a good way to see what's coming down the pipe for us as far as our financial position effects we're going to have.
We would have done the impact analysis a little earlier, but we were fairly busy with the Waukegan water project and the bonding that went along with that. So the finance people were pretty busy as it was. We decided to hold off until we had some of those issues resolved. They're now resolved, so now we're ready to take a holistic look at our finances.
Would the suggestion also include, I should say, would the analysis also include suggestions for us, a pathway forward?
Yes, as far as replacing revenues and things like that. Yeah.
And Ryan, you said, so this is a comprehensive plan for just for the upcoming year, and then we'd have subsequent updates? Or is this a plan for timeframe?
It's a plan, a future plan, so it's going to project things out into the future years. But
5, 10, do they have a time frame in there?
I'm not sure the exact time frame. I think that it's probably 5 years forward, around there. And then every year, as obviously things change, then they'll adjust things. I mean,
Okay.
we don't spend our budget every year. They're going to base things on what we budgeted, and then adjust it to how we spend for our budgets going
Did we
forward.
do this a few years ago?
We do it for the utilities every year. It's going to be similar to the financial management that they do for the utilities every year. And I believe the financial management for the utilities go out 5 years. So.
A lot of the financial planning we had done internally for years and never used outside consultants to do that. A lot of government entities do use outside consultants. We don't. We did it internally. But with these legislative changes coming, we thought it'd be a good idea if we did a whole big holistic picture.
Makes sense.
So, are these, will the look be status quo to revenues and expenses, or are you making assumptions and putting assumptions in at the same time?
So every year I prepare a financial management report for the city funds at budget time and hand those out, and those are based on assumptions that, we include the notes, and it kind of goes through fund by fund and revenues, each revenue source and each expense, and lists the assumptions that are placed on those. with the uncertainty now because of the legislation and how that can change, I think Baker Tilly will be able to take a better look at other possible revenue streams and things like that. And their assumptions, I think, are going to be better than I'm able to produce with those things, so.
There's a lot of very fine details that you need to know to make the assumptions that are gonna be accurate. The rub is gonna be, stuff may change in subsequent
Yeah,
years.
that's
So,
where I was going.
Yeah, but I think they'll make assumptions based on the best available data.
Yeah.
We were able to make assumptions before because it was pretty status quo.
Yeah.
And going forward, there's gonna be a lot of changes, so I think and I think Baker Tilly's got a pretty good grasp on those things right now, so I think it'll be beneficial.
Entertain a motion whenever you're ready.
I move we do this.
Motion second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Request approval of the City of Angola facade grant agreement with Whitehold Construction LLC for property located at 108 South Wayne Street, the amount of $10,000, not to exceed $10,000. Either one of you kind of give a brief description of what we're doing. Aretha, you want to touch on it? You're familiar.
Dan has applied for the facade grant he will use on the front portion of the building along South Wayne Street. He'll be making improvements on the back too, but I think that this is just going to be for the facade improvements on the front, new windows, and I will let you pick up, Dan, on any other details.
Redoing the stonework or whitewash, is that what we're talking about, what we talked about before? Yeah, trying to whitewash and trying to keep the stone that's there, but cleaning it up and kind of repairing it, because structurally, the way it was built back then, where those curved windows are, there's like load on it and there's not support, so that's why one of them's cracked and busted out, so we're gonna fix all that up. And then, do I talk about George's too, or no?
You can.
Okay, so when we're doing George's above too, because it's, it's a split property, so I'm gonna put the same windows up above, redo the whole face so it's the same, and clean it up a lot, and it's gonna look a lot like Sutton's Deli with the black windows and the accents and everything else, so.
Nice.
And he's gone to HPC and has received approval for a certificate of appropriateness.
You want plywood windows? Jeez.
No, Menards windows, no, I'm just kidding.
I appreciate the fact that you're saving the limestone that's there as much as you can.
Yes.
They went through a couple versions of facades, and that's what they settled on, so it works out good.
Entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the facade grant agreement.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I was over in Elkhart most of last week, or the last half of last week, at a mayor's conference. Mayors in Indiana are invited. They get together once a year. We hear a lot of presentations, a lot of information gets exchanged, and a lot of networking takes place. And several times from the podium, Councilmember Sharkey's name was mentioned. With the uncertainty of Senate Bill 1, or now in Senate Rolled Act 1, which changes the property tax issue, they're also making drastic changes to the community crossing grant, House Bill 1461. And Councilmember Sharkey is a recognized authority on these issues through her connections with LTAP. So we are very fortunate to have her to be able to guide us through what we are going to be using for road funding going forward. The community crossing grant has been a game changer for all cities in the state of Indiana, allowing us to do things that we normally would not be able to do to maintain our roads. And with that, I will turn over the presentation to Councilmember Sharkey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of giving this summary to several communities, and nice to be able to give this summary to our own community. But House Enrolled Act 1461, which is now Public Law 173, it had a lot of different items within it. So I outlined about 12, I think, here, 13 of them here. One of them talked about public-private partnerships. which you can read into a little bit more. Railroad tax credit, the speed limit on I-465. So some of those items and tolling are more on the state level. But then we get into items that impact us at a local level. The first one dealt with the wheel tax and excise surtax. So it made some changes for a county containing a consolidated city, which is down Marion County, City and Indianapolis area. But then it also required local units to have a wheel tax and excise surtax in place to be eligible for a new funding opportunity through a lane mile direct distribution, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. Well, it also made changes to the motor vehicle highway restricted fund. So our motor vehicle highway funds that come in, 50% goes to unrestricted, another 50% goes to a restricted use, which is only for construction, reconstruction, and preservation activities. So beginning on June 30th of 2026, if our local network has an average PASER rating, which is the surface evaluation rating of our roads, if it has a PASER rating of 6 or greater in the preceding year, so that would be, I guess they're working off of the state fiscal year, so that will be nice and challenging for us to go back and forth with. But if we have an average rating of 6 or greater and not more than 15% of our network as rated 1 or 2, which are considered failed roadways, then we could reduce the restricted amount to 40%. Yes, Councilor.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be asking questions in the middle.
Yes,
Okay,
please do.
Do we have PASER rates on our city
Yes.
streets and?
Amanda?
And what is the average of our city streets?
6.1?
On almost every one of them?
No, that's our average. I mean,
So
we
the
have
highest is what,
anywhere from-
10?
Yes, we
Okay.
have anywhere from a 1 to a 10 on our
In the
city.
city, and so we need to fix the ones, obviously.
Well, there's a whole strategy on how you go and the best way to spend your funds. But yes,
I'm just thinking.
Amanda, I meant to send to council members this morning the report, the PACER report for this year, and I neglected to do that. I really should. Can you forward all the council members our latest PACER analysis?
Yeah. So I guess the quick summary is we rate every street every year. And then we create a plan, so between street and engineering, we look at 5 years out. How do we want to maintain our streets? What improvements do we want to make? And we use those ratings to make those kind of justifications.
So I guess the question would have to be, are the main thoroughfares through the city? And I'm thinking Wayne Street, William Street, Maumee,
So Wayne
Hamel,
Street.
those places
and
are.
Maumee are not ours.
But the main ones would be taken care by the county, the state, or somebody.
Only North Wayne and East and West Maumee.
Okay, so the other ones, so then is the most traffic used ones? You use that as your calculation also, don't you?
No. Because everyone pays taxes.
I'm- I guess I'm missing this, right?
We look
I
at
completely hijacked your report, I'm sorry.
We look at functional classification
Right.
in that decision making, but that doesn't affect what PASER rating we rate the street. Whether one person drives on it at Beverly Court or thousands drive on it on William Street, we're still going to rate that the same. Now, in the decision making process, yeah, that comes into effect, but we also have to tell every resident that
Yeah, we've done
you pay taxes and you pay taxes, and we have to treat you equally.
that. Okay, thank you, sorry.
No, that's a great question, because the rating system is a state rated or state oriented rating system, so it's based on the distresses of the pavement, so it's not like any other considerations come into play. But once the asset management strategies come in, traffic, maybe crashes, safety initiatives, economic development opportunities, that's where other variables come into play to where those dollars actually go, to have that, what we like to say, mix of fixes. If we only focused on the bad roads, they cost a lot of money to fix, and we can't neglect our good roads, because then they'll fall into disrepair, just like we manage our homes, our cars, everything, change the oil in the car and things like that. So yes, so PASER is a surface evaluation rating system, which any community that uses that now has to have those individuals certified to utilize that rating system. Some of the comments down at the State House were that they thought it was a little subjective because it's a visual rating system, so they wanted to make sure that those that were visually rating the roads were certified. So as LTAP, we got to inherit that program and provide certification, which we've been working on furiously over the last couple months, and I know the city of Angola had several representatives there. You can see some of the others. We don't have low water crossings that I'm aware of within the city limits. The cumulative bridge fund is a county level fund. That's a tax levied on property taxes of every property owner in the community, so in the entire county, so all of us pay into that. But it does now assign the responsibility of the structures. There was some ambiguity onto what constitutes a bridge. So the federal highway definition of a bridge of greater than 20 feet is what is being used. So any structures that are greater than 20 feet, the county must maintain, even if it's in city limits. Anything less than that, the city or municipal jurisdiction must maintain.
Jen, is that a length or width? Because almost any bridge is
It's
more
the
than
span
20.
length.
Span length, okay.
Yep.
But that's still pretty short, isn't it? I mean, 20 foot, it's almost a culvert, right?
Some culverts can be constituted a bridge based on that span length, right? So then there's also a provision if we ever had a project where a small structure, something that was less than 20 feet, we reconstructed and it would become larger because of perhaps the hydraulic analysis requires a larger crossing. We would need to consult the county because then they would take over ownership and maintenance of that structure.
Could the county have veto rights over the extension of that bridge?
That's a great question. It doesn't outline that in the state statute currently.
I assume our railroad bridge we have in town is more than 20 feet.
It's on the state road as well.
Yeah, so Harcourt would be the state. I think the one in Fox Lake, right at the border there,
It's the county.
is the county's, but still a little bit on the city limit. No, okay,
No, it's quite a ways outside.
okay.
Just a question.
Yes.
The bridges that are 20 feet or less that become municipal jurisdictions, is there already an inventory identified that will now be municipal responsibility? Does that have to be done yet?
It depends on the community. Some communities have what are called small structure inventories, but it's not mandatory. The ones that are greater than 20 feet, those are required by federal law to be inspected and inventoried every 2 to 4 years.
Well, so I wondered if we were gonna have to fall underneath that same concept that you just talked about, the inspection and.
Not from a regulatory standpoint, but from, proper asset management standpoint, we should.
So that's a to be determined yet.
And I guess I defer that to Amanda to know if we have that inventory of smaller structures.
I was kind of curious how big this animal is that's gonna be inherited by the state.
We don't know.
Okay.
And then there is annual operations report for street and highway departments. So it used to be population of 15,000 and greater would be required to submit this report. That changed it to population 5,000 or greater. So we have a new financial report that will need to go to LTAP and State Board of Accounts and I believe Department of Local Government Finance. So the way we use this at LTAP is to help with the local road and bridge condition and inventory report that we provide statewide to show the funding gaps that are existing for maintaining and improving local infrastructure. So it is important to us to be able to communicate that need statewide.
So the annual operations report is about bridges.
No, it's about street department revenue and expenditures.
Street department.
The threshold on that report's been getting lower and lower for some time now, I believe, so I
Yes.
kind of expected that we would eventually fall under.
And there will be a presentation at the clerk treasurer's annual meeting in a couple weeks on that topic. And then 11 and 12 get into community crossings. So basically, community crossings, those funds all went to the matching grant program that we've utilized since 2016. Because that was the only pot of money that continued to grow over time, whereas other funds like motor vehicle highway, which is off of gas tax, started to decline. State legislation took a look at that to see how could those dollars be utilized, continued with the grant program, but in other means as well. So now there's two ways a local community could get community crossings type funding. The first way is through the traditional matching grant program. The only change there is, you can see highlighted, now our match went from 25% down to 20%. So a little bit of a lower match there for population less than 10,000. But there will only be 100 million allocated to that program annually. Whereas before it was the full pot of money, which could range from 250,000 up to 350,000. I'm sorry, million, thank you. But now, yes, 100 million set aside annually for the grant program, which means the grant program will be more competitive year after year. But any leftover funds within that community crossings pot, after a few different takeaways, some goes to a railroad, some go to City of Indianapolis if they can match it with their own money, and then the rest of it left over would go through a direct distribution to local units that have the wheel tax and excise surtax adopted.
The community crossings becoming more competitive that you mentioned. Is it gonna just become more need-based, or is it gonna become something that our mayor has networked with somebody? Right? You know, what does more competitive mean?
This means there's less money to be divvied out amongst all the applications.
They're just less.
I think the needs base is the pacer rating that they're throwing in now that
Okay.
you're gonna change. The communities that have lower pacer ratings are probably gonna
Have a better shot at it.
I would think,
NDOT has that, I don't think so.
okay.
When we apply for road segments, we have to submit our Paisley rating, but we don't, other than submitting a certification that we've done our pavement asset management plan, NDOT doesn't see our plan. So they don't know that our average rating system-wise is 6.1.
I thought this bill had a
They
requirement.
know the 3 roads we're applying for are Paisley, blah, blah, blah.
I thought this bill required you had to report your average.
You have to report the average for the state comptroller to remove to State Board of Accounts to know that you don't have the 50% restricted, you only have 40% restricted. Yeah, so there's several state agencies that are involved in administering these new changes, and they are still working collaboratively on how to implement what the intent of the bill is. There's been several discussions on how that will transpire, so there are still several question marks on those opportunities. But the lane mile direct distribution, again, you'd have to have the wheel tax and excise surtax adopted, but then you would get the money direct to the unit. You wouldn't apply through a grant portion. Now, having said that, those two are related a little bit. So matching grant program, NDOT has usually set the cap at $1 million. For a time, it was 1.5, but they've lowered it back to 1 million that you could apply for. If the city of Angola, let's say, had the wheel tax excise surtax adopted, so we would be eligible for the lane mile direct distribution. If we got 500,000 in that direct distribution, then we could only apply to the grant program for that difference. So we could only apply for 500,000. We couldn't apply for the max. If for some reason Angola got 1.2 million through the lane mile direct distribution, then we couldn't apply at all because we're over the maximum of the grant. So that's why there's 2 avenues to receive community crossings funds moving forward. And then the last piece in there was Township Roads and Infrastructure Fund. There's some provisions now for townships that some of their excess unrestricted funds must go into this roads and infrastructure fund. And then they would enter into a memorandum of understanding with a city, town, or county to administer infrastructure improvement projects with those dollars. So I think there has been some discussions amongst the townships and the city and county here on what that could look like if that transpires in the future.
Chip and I, Chip, the county engineer, and I met with the various townships to start discussion of that. And I talked to the Pleasant Township trustee, who by and large is what the city's in, about that MOU, and we're both of the opinion that it should be very simple, straightforward. Any excess money goes into a allocated fund, however, is required for us to use towards that. But the townships in Steuben County don't anticipate having excess money. Or very little.
Some more questions about
Yes.
community, because I'm the newbie here. Community crossings, has that been around for a long time? I guess it's
16.
right. How long?
2016, wasn't that the first year we used it?
So we utilize that because of the matching program to repair roads. Do we have funds? Where's our fund, our match come from?
So right now, Councilmember Starkey mentioned MVH restricted. We place our 50% of our MVH funds into the restricted, and that's actually, to make things simple, that's what we use for our match for community crossings. So every year, we're pretty close to that amount for our match. I think this last year, every couple years, I should say, we have to use some of the rest of the regular MVH funds to fill that gap. But as of right now, that's what we use the MVH restricted for, is community crossings match.
So it sounds like, and it's probably good timing for your financial review, by the way. But it sounds like we don't have much option other than to adopt a wheel tax and excise tax.
If we want to be eligible for that lane mile direct distribution.
And I would assume we do.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, if that's the will of our.
so adopting this, how fast does this become a reality as a revenue?
If you start right now, you're not gonna see any revenue to the first of 27, the way I understand the program. If we would have adopted one by the end of this month, we would have seen revenue at the beginning of next year. But that is a major change to our taxpayers and our system, and I would not move that rapidly. If we do wanna enact this tax, I would wanna move very slow, deliberately, and take whatever public input be out there.
So we have a year of a gap that we might have to fund ourselves?
Possibly. Our cash balances are strong though, so I think that we'll weather that
So
better
we
than a lot
probably
of
cover it.
communities will, but there's a chance we might have to burn some of our cash balances for probably at least a year.
When would the wheel tax and excise surtax form of coercion, when will that have to be implemented?
Adopt it by the end of August, and so now your next window of opportunity will be the end of August next year.
Next year.
And then the BMV puts everything in place and starts collecting revenue in the first distribution. The way I understand the program would be the beginning of 2027. Is that sound?
So people be paying immediately, we don't get it for.
No, because it wouldn't be,
They won't start collecting
Until
until
next year.
January
Pay your
2027. Yeah. So when the county went through this process in 2017, I believe, to enact the countywide wheel tax, excise surtax, which we do get a portion of those funds. At the county level, they share some of those with the municipalities. If a municipality that's eligible to adopt one adopts one, then it all stays within the municipality minus the 15 cents per transaction for the BMV fee.
I think it's safe to say we're gonna see fewer dollars coming to the state back for our local roads. Is that a true statement?
There's more challenges, maybe not challenges, but just
Yeah.
more steps to take.
When they originally were proposing this law, one of the original stipulations was if you did not have a local wheel and excise tax, you weren't gonna be eligible for community crossing grant money at all. And we spent a lot of time lobbying the state legislature, saying from a policy point of view, that's very bad, because you're either rewarding us for raising taxes or you're penalizing us if we don't raise taxes. And so the state legislature did change it, and the compromise was the lane mile piece of the legislation that ultimately went through. So they did drive, and their feeling was, hey, we're not gonna help you if you're not willing to help yourself, was what the sentiment was. But the common sense of the reward or punishment piece finally won out.
So would a city resident have to pay both the county and the?
Yes.
And the county would not have to pay?
The county does still share revenue with us, don't they?
The county still shares revenue, but yeah, those that live outside city limits would only be paying the county
Yeah.
portion.
So the residents are getting double dipped, in other words?
Yes.
Just wait, it gets worse when we get through the Senate Bill 1 stuff. The way the Senate Bill 1's proposed right now, it gets a lot worse. Hold on. I would recommend to the council that you ask the administration, Ryan and I, to put proposals together, find out what those numbers actually are, find out what that revenue stream is, so we know what our taxpayers would actually be paying before we enact it. My guess is, from a revenue point of view, I would think $175,000, $250,000 a year would be a guess on what other similar towns our size have been saying. Some of those towns have been using it for a long time. Some of those towns have been using wheel tax for sidewalk repair and replacement programs. I think we're gonna need it for streets and roads myself.
If you look on LTAP's website, they've done some calculations.
Yeah.
So you can see what Angola can potentially generate.
Is the calculation specific to Angola or?
Yes.
Do you know what our number is, John?
At the minimum rate, around 60,000, at the maximum rate, around 205,000.
What are the minimums and the maximum rates?
So $25 for a passenger car, I think, isn't it?
So let me get back up to that. So the wheel tax are on the larger vehicles and the excise surtax are on the smaller vehicles, which get outlined in code, but minimum is $5, maximum is $40 for the larger vehicles. For the smaller ones, $7.50 at the minimum, $25 at the maximum. And it's a
Property tax went down $300. Just keep that in mind, the property tax went down $300.
Go cheat it?
That's part of all this blown.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, that'll be 2035. How many, since you do the statewide stuff, how many cities our size already have the wheel tax? Can you guesstimate?
I don't know about our size. I know the last we looked, there were 16, but there's been 4 that I know of that have adopted it this year. And I believe there's at least 10 others that are looking at it. On the county side, 55 counties have adopted it, but there's, I think, at least 10 to 15 that are actively pursuing it.
You almost have to.
I attend a monthly city engineers meeting, which we had today, and on that call, there were maybe 20 of us, and every single one said they're pushing to pursue it to try to adopt this. So from the city engineer level.
The mayor's meeting, there was a very strong push to, most of the mayors were saying, yeah, we need to do this.
I mean, as a resident, I want my street fixed, and I'll pay the $20 or whatever. That's how I look at it.
I will say at a lot of the economic development conferences, they speak about that often, and when you really
Speak about what often?
on the taxes and higher taxes in communities, and when you take polls with community members, they will say that they're willing to pay higher taxes for their amenities to continue, better street repairs, better roads, you know,
I think
men's
everybody
picked
does.
up at your house, different amenities, people are willing to pay higher taxes for that. And they will move to communities that have higher taxes because they get better amenities.
Yeah.
And I don't know that everybody feels that way, but
I'm sure they don't.
they do discuss that very often.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and I think everybody understands the environment we're in, that there's a lot of dust up in the air right now and things are not settled down. And
The complaints for raising taxes are pretty short-lived. The complaints on bad roads go on forever.
can I,
That's the headline for tonight's meeting.
We-
can I change the subject on a different point on here? Because there's lots of stuff we could talk about. How in the world do you ever get a township to give up excess money?
Well, they'll find out that they don't have any real quick.
Well, I figure that's gonna get, I call it the shell game. Okay, that'll happen real fast, but what's the teeth? How did they have to, who supervises? You know, Amanda's trying to do it via relationship.
So it's the Department of Local Government Finance. The townships have to prepare and provide an annual capital improvement plan now. That shows basically where
Their money
all
went.
those.
But under the Senate Bill 1, aren't they going to get restricted funding? Don't they drop the 4/10 on the income and the county gets control of the township money and there's all kinds of complications there. So I think they may truly have restricted funds, not something they have to make up. They're going to lose some money, I think.
That or they're gonna spend the money on the things that was intended to be spent on to begin with. That's why I figure some of that's gonna happen, instead of holding it. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, especially in light of other legislative changes of other bills as well.
You gonna make a motion?
Here's the motion.
There was. The mayor actually talked about,
Do you folks want to examine what a wheel tax would?
sure.
Well, sure, yeah.
Well, it sounds silly, but we're being forced to. Might as well look into it. I mean, it sounds horrible to say, but nobody likes to raise taxes. But when you look at it, coming to a city, it's streets, it's parks, it's schools, sidewalks.
Well, your public safety, it's what are the resources that your fire department has and your police department to enforce the rules? I mean, that's everything.
I think to your point, Rita, it's very important for us to remember what our role is, what we're here to do to serve the citizen. And it helps a lot, rather than worried about a tax or anything, but just getting a pro forma or something, an analysis done is not a bad idea.
You don't go into something half-cocked.
We have consensus of the council. Randy, you on board?
Well, for the study, yeah, I'm not on board for a tax raise right now.
We're not asking you that. And
We need to know, we've got to be.
We gotta know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's hard to make a decision when you're scratching here with.
How many streets do you think, and because I haven't seen the analysis, you have it, and you're gonna send it to us, are ones?
So Dave sent it to us.
5, 3,
If 5, I would guess 3.
very few.
Very few. That's also, that says something about the stewardship of trying to make sure the roads are decent.
Yeah, and
If it's really bad, we fix it.
If you look at the history of community crossings, we've been very, very successful at that. So we're doing $1 million of construction with 200,000, 300,000. I mean, so because we've had that, we have good roads. So today, we're in a good spot. 3 years from now?
Sure.
Probably not, unless we figure out how to supplement to get back to $1 million of construction a year.
This may not have anything to do with it, but I'm gonna say something. They had a great article in the Herald Republican about the Amish, and they're putting titanium connections on their horseshoes. And they just tore up a road that the LaGrange County just paved. And so they're gonna try to find some way to fix that. I don't think we have that big a problem here, but you wanna make sure the roads don't deteriorate so that you can't use them. Absolutely.
So actually, Amanda's point is part of that pro forma and analysis that he's done. Because we need to understand that the current situation, the way the money's being spent and the amount of roads being repaired annually today sustains us, or we're making headway to improvement. What's it really take to sustain what we have and not fall backwards?
It's gonna be sticker shock.
Yeah, you don't wanna know that number. We're not sustainable right now.
That's what I was-
But is any city sustainable? I can't imagine.
Carmel.
They're talking about grant dollars going down, but costs aren't going down. Costs
Right.
are going nothing but up. And so there is no adjustment for inflation and the grant dollars coming in.
Yeah, this is
They're staying constant. So you're actually, just on an inflationary point of view, you're going backwards.
And the other aspect is the gas taxes are going down because people are using less gas,
we don't
but it's
get
not
much
being
of them
based
anyway.
on sales, it's based on population.
For the distribution, correct, population and road miles depending on the size of the.
Size of the community. So that's rigged against us also, so.
All right, we'll move forward with getting some data around and bring that back to you.
We trust it's gonna make sense to you. So then you share it with us.
When are the last point is on the member and the understanding of the city, county, township, for the townships. Who has the impetus to do that? Is it us reach out to them, or they reach out to us, or is this gonna be done by a certain period of time? or-
So the legislation was very open on that. There was no deadline and there was no requirement to even enter into a memorandum of.
So this is not required.
Well, it's not required as far as having it established prior to utilizing, or prior to the event of having the project in place. So it could be a project by project basis. It could be a general overall MOU to address future projects. So
Okay, so we have
it's very flexible and it does not put the onus on any one entity.
let me see if I can caught it. We're gonna fix this road that's outside the city, that's in the township.
Inside the city.
No, it's,
Inside the city, but the city's inside the township.
yeah, so with Pleasant Township, since they extend into the county, any projects that would be in the county section, that MOU would be with the county. Yeah, because the county actually
Control it.
controls that roadway.
And that includes the ETJs.
That's a great question on the ETJ. I would have to defer to others.
The MOU, in talking with Pleasant Township trustee, the MOU that she would enter with the city would only cover the corporate limits. And it would be an MOU that states that this excess fund is going towards road improvements, and then we provide a report or a line item back to her that said, your $200 you gave us, we spent on this road. Whereas some townships are wanting to earmark their money to, I want this money to go and I want you to fix 800 South. The Pleasant Township trustee and myself both feel that is way overkill, and she does not want to be in the road selecting process, and we honestly don't want her to be. So ours would just be a blanket, here's the money, it's on the city of Angola to spend it on a road, and you give me a report that said you spent it and this is how it got spent. That's,
Because then they would have to report to the Department of Local Government Finance where those dollars were utilized. Is that correct?
yes, and in listening to the various township trustees, they spoke like it is their requirement to enter into this MOU, not on the county or the city, so it's being put on the townships to develop this, so I think to answer your question, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be pushing it.
Any other questions on this subject for this evening? Councilmember Starkey, thank you very much. We are so fortunate to have your expertise and insight on these issues. We're gonna have a lot of challenges going forward, and we're gonna need you and the rest of the council to make everything work to keep our roads safe and in good repair. Let's see, reports, clerk treasurer. Kim?
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Guy chief. Water, parks, engineering. Wow.
No, sir.
Got on that real quick. Request approval of allowance accounts payable vouchers, 75,473 through 75,666. I can't be good. Totaling, once again, $566,439.73.
Move that we approve the bills, pay the bills.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other new business this evening?
I have a question. Ballpark, refresh my memory when the splash pad project should be completed.
October.
Thank you.
And I guess that's a good opener, because then what will be the functionality in October of the splash pad?
I can't hear.
I just wondered, when the splash pad comes online in October, what will be done at the splash pad?
They're going to test it and winterize it. It will not be open until the spring of 26.
He just wants to know if he can play pickleball in
You
October.
can play pickleball as soon as it opens. All winter long for all I care.
And the playground.
I know.
Any other new business? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thanks to everyone.
What inning is that?